Welcome to another episode of Mighty Car Mods. We are back working on the iconic 240Z RB powered. Last episode, we actually got it started.
I know.
Thanks to Martin.
Amazing.
And
we
your
actually got it
skills.
working. And our skills. We actually got it working. Individual throttle bodies, which is cool because that's like the pure spiritual essence of what an RB26 should be, only we've modernized it with control over that throttle. The ECU is doing a lot of the work and it's going to be absolutely excellent to drive. And we changed the size of the turbo and we updated the manifold. It's going to be so responsive and good.
Martin, why do people love ITBs so much? You mention it and people just froth.
A lot of people will talk about the sound, the dorts, but in our case, it's kind of chasing throttle response rather than having one really big throttle. It's like a couple of little ones, and there's a bit of magic to it, but it can make the car drive nicer for what we want.
Yeah, and I mean, look, the nature of the engine is above 4,000 RPM. That's where they make lots of power. That's when it comes on strong. But what we're trying to do is, as much as we can, try and get a little bit more down low. And look, I know last time I saw in the comments, everybody was like, Al is the guru, he's number one, and I agree that he is. But I also want to take a minute just to big up my mate, because look, we've played in bands together for a long time. He's a musician, I'm a musician.
Yep.
He absolutely loves JDM Nuggets, Daihatsus, has owned an Evo 9,
Yep.
Has been on YouTube for years and years and years. You've seen him, you adore him, was basically born with a soldering iron in his hand, and basically I do consider him my best mate. Everybody, Dave's here.
Not again. Me.
I just need to, you know what's happening.
I can help you wire it.
Yeah, I know. No,
I mean,
dude, you can
too, but like, dude, the full like.
You can hang
full
out
back.
too.
Oh, I can today.
Yeah.
I'm welcome to. I'll work on your car with you.
No, I'm saying you're allowed to hang
Dave
out.
Your best mate who plays
No, you're allowed to hang out is what I'm saying. Hey Dave, how you doing? Just that one up underneath. How are you going, mate? Playing some drums?
Doing well, yeah.
Getting some things done?
Yeah, I've got to do a bit more drumming. But,
That one hurt. All right, I'll just put that one there, and then that one there will just roll up and put in the pocket. Okay. That's all right. Thank you.
I'll let you do it.
All right. And just, yep, and just stand over here in the middle. Marty, you can just...
Yeah.
No, actually, you can join us today. Come in. Camera good? Actually, just no, frame him out. No, but I'll introduce you again in a second. All right, you good? All right. Welcome to another episode of Mighty Car Mods. I'm here with Dave from Haltech. You've seen him on the show. He's an absolute legend and someone who I consider one of my best mates. Thank you very much for coming down today.
Thanks for having me.
What are we doing?
Today we're going to do wheel speeds. We're going to make this as drivable as possible. So we're going to retrofit a front wheel speed somehow. Don't quite know how we're going to do it yet, but maybe look at the back of a hub, hopefully with some bolts or something that holds the hub on, and we'll make a bracket. You and I will make a custom bracket, and we're good at that sort of stuff, so that'll be sweet. And then we'll do a rear wheel speed in the diff, because I think that factory housing has 2 wheel speed sensors in it. So I'll run out and get a wheel speed sensor, and then I'll
Sorry, that's super distracting.
That's all right. And then I'll wire it up.
Okay, well, I think also the moral of kind of what we're doing today is we're trying to modernise a classic car and give it things that it never had. But as well as that, we're going to go do an exhaust. We got some battery stuff to do, some technology things to do. There's stuff coming from Japan. I'm very, very excited. The first thing that I'm going to do today is go and do the exhaust. And so you've got some time to go and get all the pieces that you need.
I'll get a front wheel from Haltech, the red sensor. You've probably seen them before. We've used them here and there on some projects. I'll get a rear Nissan wheel speed. I'll get one of them, and then I'll figure out a switch to turn the system on and off, so we can do burnouts if we want.
Yeah, cool. Because
And we can, we can do burnouts if we want to.
So the idea is obviously, and tell me if this is right, we'll talk about this a bit more later. If the front wheel is spinning, the back wheel is spinning faster than the front, the ECU adjusts something and says, hey, can you stop spinning, please? Therefore, so you're not kind
There's a number of different ways we can do it.
Yep. Let's talk about that later. I'm going to go and get an exhaust.
All right, I'll see you soon.
Are you all right, dude? Are you okay? Do you want a hug? You all right? You all right, dude? It's okay. Come on, man. That's all right. So, you're all right. You're all good. You're good, man. You're all right. Sorry, I broke your thing. No, that's on the 180. Be careful.
No, it's broken now.
Oh, you actually broke it, dude. Dude.
That's priceless. No, I fell on it. Well, you shouldn't have replaced me, dude. I wouldn't have had to
I didn't
break
replace you.
Heidi wouldn't have broken if you hadn't replaced me.
I'm not replacing you. I'm just opening the relationship up. Come on, man.
That's all good today, though.
Oh, dude, that sucks. Look at that.
Whoops.
Come on, man.
Sorry.
You've probably broken it.
Yeah, sorry.
Probably shouldn't leave it there. It's like a Volkswagen one, it'll catch on fire. I'm taking the 240 down to Castle Hill Performance to see my mate Chris, who's a wizard in the art of custom exhaust fabrication. A new dump pipe's needed because we've got a new turbo, and he is the man for the job.
A love story that might be, we wasn't supposed to happen. So much talk around us, we became numb to the yapping. It was like 05, got my license to drive. Picked you up in my pop's car, went for a ride. Couldn't no one tell us nothing, that night was ours. All the stars aligned and you were so damn fine, yeah. It was young love, young hearts were so pure. We trust love, it's so hard to endure. A few years passed, made the move out west. It became harder to maintain, it put us to the test. I hope you know I did my best. Every birthday and Christmas, scraping up every penny, eating dinner for breakfast. Restless, but you left me so breathless. Every time you smiled and looked into my eyes, I used all the corny lines I wrote for you a dozen times. My pen dancing on this paper in your room of mine. Was the right love at the wrong time. Just a little sunshine in the wintertime. How you keeping warm at night? You still wear that coat I gave you? I'm doing good now, but still won't hesitate to save you. If I call, would you pick up? You used to say, love, please keep your chin up. Everybody been asking what happened, it's the past now. I'm quick to change the subject and hide it behind a laugh now. Small town girl with big dreams and you chased them. They said everything they could, it didn't faze her. I know we'll see each other again in due time. Look back and laugh over a bottle of cheap wine. We've officially turned the page to another chapter. It'll always be what if we were forever after. A lot's changed and we can never go back. But if we had the chance, I just wanted you to know that. Yeah, I wanted you to know that.
And that there is a work of art. And with the dump pipe now completed, it can be installed into the rest of the existing system, completing the exhaust stage of this important update on the Fairlady. With that done, it's time to head back to Super Garage and continue the build. So our dump pipe is done. It looks absolutely beautiful. It's now connected up to the rest of the system. So a massive thank you to Castle Hill Performance for having us down there. Next up, it's time to modernise this car. There is actually one other little job that has to be done, and that is the breather on this rocker has to be moved. I'm going to get Marty to do that so he can feel involved, and also because I don't know how to do that. So anyway, that there does need to be moved because we changed the angle of the engine, so you can see now that doesn't actually fit, and we don't want to cut into that because of purity and all of that stuff. Now, one of the whole philosophical underpinnings of this build has been to try and get an old car, something vintage, something retro and iconic, but actually bring it into the modern day. And so what I wanted to do was give it a traction control system, which is why David is here. David, what do we do? How does it work? One wheel spins faster than the other. Haltech says no.
Yeah, so minimum requirement, we need at least a front wheel and a rear wheel speed so we can compare the two. And then we'll start working on that dynamic between the two in that car and the wheel and the suspension and how it all works on the road.
Yep.
And then we'll try and dial it in. We'll probably get Scotty's hand with that.
Yep.
Just to dial it in nicely on the road. But we'll get it all set up today. We'll have an arming switch as well. So that'll at least turn it on or off.
Also known as a skid switch.
Skid switch, sweet.
Yep.
Very similar to a modern style car in the way that we can just turn it on or off.
Okay.
Except probably we can actually turn it off. We could also explore getting like a trim switch, and we could.
So we have a range.
We can dial it in or out to suit whatever custom wheel setup we change to.
Right.
Without having to pull the laptop out.
So unlike a modern car that could just be on or off, we could say if you spin within X and Y, then
so we
do
could
this.
arm it and then have a range between working really, really aggressively to not being too aggressive. So we can have stages.
so cool.
Well, yeah, we can
That's
have
awesome.
stages. There is so many different ways you can map it as well. Some people like to map it against throttle position, manifold pressure, both together as a channel. It spirals. You can go so many levels deep on this.
Just quickly, you've probably seen these QuadLock cases that we use on our phones. Australian company, and really proud to have them on board as sponsors. They make cases and mounts for cars, cycles, aviation, even everyday stuff like office. But what I'm really excited about is their roll cage clamp. And because this here has a roll cage, that means I can actually mount something there that's compatible with my phone or action camera. And it means that then every time you drive, if you want to get some video or something, you can do that. Now, I ran one of those clamps in my Suzuki Swift track car. Really cool because it's just always there, always available. So I'm actually going to order a couple for this car. And that means when I'm out on the street, I can get some mad videos and share them around with you, which it appears that is what we actually do on this channel. Anyway, back to traction control. Being able to have traction control in a vintage car like this is actually a really incredible use of technology, and it means the 240Z will be able to utilize it in varying degrees based on the different drive modes that we're going to set up, similar to the modern cars of today.
So we're just going through and we're setting up the inputs. So we do have enough inputs, which is excellent. I actually could not remember.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's been a long time.
That's
what everyone in the comments is saying as well. They're like, has it really been 6 years?
I wasn't great then. So yeah, it was good to just refresh and just go over it. I can see Al's probably done a firmware upgrade, which is excellent. So now it's all up to date, which is awesome. I'm just assigning the inputs for the wheel speeds. We're going to do front left. We'll probably do rear left because it kind of just makes sense. And we're just setting it up. Currently, we'll set it up across vehicle speed. We'll do the throttle position, and then we'll try and do a trim position.
Yeah, okay, cool.
As well, so we can dial it in and out and just see how it reacts and how it feels. So we'll try that for now, and then we'll wire up these speed sensors.
Cool.
And
Let's
we'll
do it.
Get them to trigger in the software and look at them live in the software.
Awesome.
All right, sick. Let's do it.
This car is going to end up making heaps of power. Our expectation is over 300 kilowatts at the wheels, so around double what a stock R32 GTR would make. But all of this in a car that weighs around a ton, and being that our existing ECU can run this system, it's a no-brainer to install some sensors. Up the front on the undriven wheel, we need to install this 3-wire vehicle speed sensor, also known as a Hall effect digital sensor, which will generate a square wave signal each time a magnet or ferrous metal passes in front of the tip. In this case, I'll be triggering off the back of a bolt head that's holding the rotor to the hub. It does need to be installed with some precision though, ensuring a good target with around a 1mm air gap, which is why I'm doing some cardboard engineering out of a burger box that had Dave's lunch in it. The rear will have a 2-wire reluctor sine wave magnetic sensor, and the relationship between the data from these two sensors will help us determine our slip percentage for traction control. This data can also be used for things like valet mode or boost control based on road speed. Once I've managed to make a perfect fit out of this cardboard box and check that the clearance is all good, I'll transfer my bracket design onto a piece of steel. The custom bracket's finished and the front sensor is installed and its placement is absolutely perfect. So now I can move on to the rear. So these here are rear wheel sensors that are from and R34 GTT. We got these from the wreckers, but we actually only need one of them. So originally, when this came from the factory, this would have been used on a GTT for ABS. The same kind of sensor would have been used in a GTR format for the Atessa four-wheel drive system. But in our case, we can install this directly up here into the diff in the factory location. The signal from this will go down here into this wire down into the Haltech. That signal will then be matched up and be in relation with the signal that we are getting from the sensor on the front, and that is the bracket that we made. And between those two, that information will go into the Haltech, and then the relationship between those two will determine how much traction control we get and what we do with it. So it's actually very exciting, and again, really cool to use parts from the original car. So that is going up there. This one here will get installed right there in that position. And then with the front done, we can start to put some power through the car and actually make sure all of this stuff works. So push that in, that is in place, put a bolt into that, plug it in, and then we are ready to run some power through and test it.
But before we do that, I need to relocate the breather on the right-hand side rocker cover. Now the engine is in a better, more sump-friendly spot, it clashes with the bonnet catch. This is a -10 aluminium bung that connects our catch can using some custom-made hoses. It utilises the factory oil air separator plates and mesh before releasing any leftover oily air into our catch can. We'll then feed the filtered air back into the intake to prevent smells and to please Captain Planet. I'll first clean out any oily residue, cut off the old bung and weld in some plate to blank it off. Then I'll drill a hole for a shiny new bung which I'll weld in. And this kind of TIG welding on aluminium can be tricky with the different thicknesses and contamination in the weld pool. But as long as it's all sealed up properly, a little bit of black paint can make it all look great. Then it and the gasket can be reinstalled onto the engine with some new sealant.
So this is a little update of where we're at. The rear wheel sensor has been installed, the front wheel sensor has been installed, the bracket is on there, everything looks like it's lined up great. Dave is currently in there just twisting some wires together, just basically rigging it up so we can see if it actually works. Then what we're going to do is put some power through it, spin the front wheel, make sure the sensor is picking up that bolt that we've lined it up with, spin the rear wheel, make sure that's picking up as well from inside the diff. If we're getting information from both of those fed into the ECU, make sure the computer is actually reading that. Once we know that that actually works, then we can make this permanent. So we can Loctite down here, we can put sheath over all the wires and stuff like that. Meanwhile, over here, Marty has sorted out this rocker cover that looks absolutely fantastic. Currently, he is now working on the catch can setup, which is going to be going over here. Once we finish testing here, we're also going to set up the battery as well. As you can see, this is a bit of a mess. Plus, this battery's been in here for like 6 or 7 years, so it is completely dead. So we're going to we're going to do a new little setup here. Actually, we've got a couple. Hello, mate. We've got a couple of little things that we need to do. What do you? Oh, look what Martin's done.
Take bung.
There you go. Martin, that is clean. Look at that. That's very, very good. Martin's not wearing a microphone, so I just get to do all the talking. What a little treat. So that's just going to go like that, and then that is going to go like that. Very good, Martin. Well done. Are we almost ready for a blast off?
Let's do some testing.
This is like the rocket, and you're like Elon Musk. Tell me when to spin a wheel. All right, here's front wheel going.
We can see 4 kilometres here. We've got it set up as the driven wheel speed at the moment. It's doing a calculation at the moment between the front and the rear, which is why we have half as a driven. So we'll change all that once we've got the calibration done on the road against the GPS sensor, and then we can start figuring out how to make it all work together.
Thanks to Dave's cleverness and our clever ECU, we're now seeing wheel speed readings on both the front and back wheels, setting the groundwork for modern traction control in an old car. While he's sorting that out, I'm finishing the breather hoses and also relocating our pod filter, putting it further forward for both clearance and to pick up some cooler air from behind the headlight. As well as amplifying the epic dose noises, this pipe also sucks air out of the catch can, completing our breather system. And now that's all in place, we can look to upgrade our battery.
One of the main reasons of revisiting this build is because so much technology has changed in the last 6 years, and one of those massive aspects of the industry that's changed is battery technology. So what was in the car was this, and that weighs over 10 kilos, and we're replacing that with a lithium battery that weighs, what does that weigh, less than 3?
I'm back.
Hey,
Did
Martin.
you notice?
How you doing, mate?
When the battery and the power was required, I was gifted my microphone back. And all of us are actually very good friends. Me and Dave, him and Dave.
Who's Dave?
Me and...
Oh, sorry.
Dave.
Yeah, no, Dave, my best mate. Hello, mate. How you doing?
What a legend. We're putting in this. This weighs 2.95 kilos. It's a pretty big saving in weight. It has a lot of cold cranking amps, which because we are trying to start a bigger engine than we've used in the past, we're using one size up from the size we've used before. These are awesome. They don't weigh much. It's going to package really nicely in there. It also gives us a chance to revisit some of our wiring.
Quick question, Martin.
Yes, in here.
This looks like the kind of battery terminal that I would stick in a motorbike. Where does that go?
We delete it. We don't need these big lugs. You can get adapters and run them on here, but we don't actually need that. We can just make brand new, fresh battery cables. Your new best mate, who's been your mate for a long time, he knows how to make them.
So, but where do these terminals go then, Martin?
In the bin.
We're also going to put a circuit breaker / battery breaker thing on there. So if the car's not being used, you can just disconnect power. One of the things I love about this though, these do have a little test button on them, and when you press that, it tells you what the charge state is, which is really, really cool. So you can just walk up and go, what's my battery power? And this should work really, really nicely.
With our new lithium battery setup, we're saving weight, plus it's smaller in size, and it's a better solution for when the car's not being driven. Now with the wiring cleaned up, it's time to say a big thank you to Dave, and now it's time to start it up and go for a drive. Massive thank you, Dave, for coming down and helping us with all of your mad nerd skills. Now, Martin, we've got to go for a drive to set up the calibration of the wheel speed sensors.
Correct. So against the GPS, we are going to tell the Haltech how many revolutions of a front wheel equals 50 k's an hour, and how many revolutions of a back wheel equals 50 k's an hour. Make sure that's calibrated so that the strategies can be set up. We'll do that against the GPS, which is close enough for what we're doing, and we can further do that on the dyno as well. But so that we can make sure it actually works, we'll do that on the laptop.
And before we hit the road though, it's time for you to hear this magnificent creation, because you haven't heard it yet since it's had an exhaust put on it. So, let's get it started, Martin. You ready to get the party started, mate?
Yep, do it.
What?
Yeah, it's got power. Doesn't have the key thing where you can't go too far. You know the whole thing? You just got to turn it a little bit towards on, but not all the way to on.
There's no power.
Oh, none at all?
No.
Yeah, okay. Oh, that's because you didn't turn the car on. Remember we put the breaker on it?
Oh, what?
Remember we put a breaker on it?
Oh.
So that you can turn the whole car off?
I forgot, even though that was only about 10 minutes ago.
Yeah, I forgot too. Ready?
Yeah.
Now you got power. That's pretty good.
We are professional. See how we go now. There we go.
Sounds good. So smooth. There it is. That sounds so good.
That sounds incredible.
It does sound good. It's about as good as a 6 gets, unless it's in a Subaru.
Or a BMW.
Oh yes! This is going to be an animal once it's tuned, man. Feels more keen, doesn't it?
It does,
Like
yeah.
it feels like it wants to go earlier.
That sounds so good, doesn't it?
Yeah. And also, because I made that intake pipe longer, the dose is more hectic.
It's the most hectic. It's the most hectic dose I've ever heard.
Yeah, and that's where you may actually want to put a blow-off valve on it.
Yeah.
If you want to shut it up, you can. Like it's just an option.
So the wheel sensors are working and they're doing what they've got to do?
So I've got the 2 speed sensors up here, vehicle speed front left input and vehicle speed right rear input, and we're seeing a percentage. So as you slow down, the percentage drops or percentage goes up and down, which means it's getting a signal, and then we calibrate it to just tell it when you sit at, so if you sit it at 50, basically it's just a calibration to go, yes, that's the speed that we want.
Yeah.
Vehicle speed, calibration speed 50 k's an hour, and then there's, for the front sensor, there's 4,238 pulses per kilometre.
Yeah.
And for the back one, because it's the smaller factory style one, 24,000 pulses per kilometre.
Yeah, right, okay.
And as long as that reference stays the same, it doesn't really matter what that is, we just have to tell it that that means 50 k's an hour.
Got it. That is, without a doubt, absolutely incredible. And a dose monster. The sound of it, Martin. So!
Yeah, and more so than ever. And look, we've got to put the breather back to the intake, but just making it that little bit longer, it's like full dose pipe, dude.
It's amazing.
So good. But that's what you want. You make some noise.
It's so close now to where I always wanted it to be. There's a couple of little things still to go. Next episode, we got some stuff that's come from Japan. We've got an alignment, we've got a tune, we're going to be seeing Scotty.
Yeah.
And then we're going to be hitting the road for some adventures.
On a scale of 0 to 10, what's your froth meter?
9.7.
Full, basically maxed.
I'm maxed out, frothing through the zip. And the only reason that it's not a 10 is because there's a 0.3 point that's not there because it hasn't been on the dyno yet. I don't know if it's about to go kablamo. I don't think it is, but I want to know that it's actually set up properly.
There's always a possibility.
And then it'll just be excellent.
A 10 out of 10.
Once the things are on.
10's worth of frothiness.
The
Thank you for watching.
made.
Have you got yourself a poster yet?
Oh, yes.
Because the poster is limited edition. Once they're gone, they're gone. You can't get them anymore. Start your collection, finish your collection. 240Z poster looks freaking amazing. I hope you enjoy yours if you got one.
MightyCarMods.com. We will individually autograph it and send it to you anywhere in the world. Just want to say a massive thank you to Dave for coming down this episode. Big thank you to Al for coming down last episode. Thank you to Martin.
I didn't do that much, but I thoroughly enjoyed hanging out and working on it. And it's nice to have those guys as well here to hang out. And this car, this does have this next level of like niceness to it. Like when you were driving before, I was looking at the pedals and they're like just perfectly aligned. Yeah. And the inside's like really nice. And we spent obviously over a year on the Gemini and got it really nice. And this is like that level of niceness.
It's the next level. And it's had a lot of time to kind of cook, you know?
We'll talk about that another time.
Good chat. Bye.